Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
And we are back for another episode. Let's kick the show off with Bison football. So they had the home opener last Saturday and got the dub 56-14. Again, didn't get my prediction. I don't think I'm ever going to get it. I'm losing hope.
I mean, someday you might get it. You got to have that faith to have that hope, right?
Yeah. So the first drive, Drake gave problems to the Bison defense. Now, they came out pretty fearless. I'd say Ian Corrin, Drake's quarterback, he really set the tone for that offense. Let's see what Matt Ince had to say in the post press conference. Roll the clip.
Part of it is, I'll take a little bit of the blame, probably anticipated that maybe we could get ourselves fired up. I probably got to do a better job pregame of maybe lighting the fire. Regardless of who we play, we got to get ready to go. And then the second thing is, did we over prepare a little bit? I know it's going to sound funny, but were we paralysis by analysis? I think we do a really good job of preparation here, both sides of the football. Did we have too much defense? And I've seen it before, and I talked to Nick DeLuca today about it. You know, why sometimes we don't start real fast, and I think we're trying to feel out what this team's going to do to attack us, and then we settle in. We need to be more on the attack early defensively, make people react to us.
Now let's talk about the Bison defense. I don't know. I wouldn't say chemistry was off. Everything was there. The energy, even the effort. What do you think was throwing off the Bison in that first drive?
Drake's coach kind of mentioned it in the post-game press conference that they wanted to try a few different things for NDSU. They knew that their offense wasn't that good last year, so they wanted to try to throw a few new things at what they said was probably one of the best defenses in the FCS. So I think that's what they did, and some of our secondary players were not ready for that, as it was apparent as they had 3 or 4 big pass plays on that first drive. Yeah,
speaking of the post-game press conference, one of the players on the defense were saying that they threw some things out to them that they weren't expecting. Even the coach said they were frustrated with that. And then after that, it seemed like they just were patient and just looking at what they were doing. So you're right on that.
It's the element of surprise, really.
Definitely. But Ian Corrin, I think I became a fan in that first drive. I think he really was putting that stamp down and was fearless. And he was taking shots at vets like I want to say
like Courtney
Eubanks,
Destin
Talbert. He got that deep bomb on that right side. Like these are guys. Destin Talbert, he got that crazy one-hand catch. These are guys that not should be taken lightly. So when I saw it, I'm like, wow, he's really trying to get this dub.
Another thing that he had was a very good scrambling ability.
Yeah.
He was very hard to bring down, especially in the first half. I'm not sure if NDSU got any sacks in the first half because all he did was scramble. When the pocket collapsed, he would be able to scramble, and NDSU had a lot of trouble bringing him down.
Then when they got to the red zone and he hit that running back in the flat and got the touchdown, the whole stadium was stunned. Like, wow, they really moved the chains of that magnitude and got scored on. I just looked around and was like, yeah, this is D1 football. This is how it's going to happen.
It was definitely unexpected, especially against a team who only scored 10 or less points in half of their games last year. So this was definitely something that not a lot of people were expecting, to give up a touchdown on the first drive.
Yeah, but then going into NDSU's first drive, I think it was a solid drive. Cam Miller came out starting his first game. Zach Mathis got his first career TD, catching that screen pass. It really helped with some good blocks. I'm happy for him.
And that one was long overdue. Zach Mathis has been a part of this team for years. He's had injuries that have had him set back, but now he's one of the main receivers, and it's good to see him get that touchdown.
Yeah, but I think special teams definitely changed the momentum of this game. Jake Cava was able to get a blocked field goal with his face mask, allowing Destin Talbert to scoop and score.
And the thing was with Drake, this game was still tied 7-7. If Drake had gotten that field goal, it would have been a 10-7 lead, but because of that blocked field goal, NDSU had all the momentum going forward.
Yep, and then after that, Jalen Price returned a 69-yard punt, making it his 3rd career punt. That would make it 21-7.
He just makes it look effortless on certain plays. This one, once he got that ball, he was gone. I think touched him.
I think everybody knows if you punt it down the middle and he catches it, it's pretty much off to the races. Then the big man, Hunter Lukey, will get himself one, taking it to the house on a sweep play. That's a big man. That's a grown man. That's a hard man to stop.
It definitely shows that he hasn't regressed in any way, shape, or form since last year.
Facts. And the tight end, Noah GINDORFF, will get him one off a corner route, practically knocking the soul out of that man. It's just, like you said, he's turned into Gronk. That's a big guy.
He's Noah Gronk now. The size, it looks like he's gotten so much bigger than last year.
Yeah, but then we got to get the defense some credit. Marquise Siegel got himself an interception. I like the energy of the defense, man. They were always energetic and helping each other up. I think that's a good core group.
Yep, Siegel, his 2nd interception of his career, and it definitely helps the defense. Whenever you get a turnover, it brings them all together.
Yep, and then let's kind of dive into the offense and the defense a little bit. So Cam Miller, I think he looked pretty good. It seemed like he wasn't forcing anything. He threw 2 TDs, no interceptions, no sacks. I think that's a pretty good. You can't be mad at that performance.
No, you can't. And, the offense didn't throw the ball too much. He only got just a little over 100 yards passing. But he did what he needed to when he was ready to pass. And, at the end of the day, against most opponents, that's all you really need to do with this Bison offense.
Yep, and then let's talk about Cole Payton. Down the stretch after the Bison looked like the Bison was pulling it away, Cole Payton came in, and like I was mentioning last episode, I'm not sold on his passing ability. All we've seen is the run. He threw 4 passes, completed 2 for 7 yards. I got to see it to believe it, and right now I'm not a believer.
And that's what a lot of people I've been hearing say, that he hasn't thrown the ball at all, and why is he not throwing it? I still think it's early yet. I think it's way too early to say where is his throwing ability, because of the fact that last year, most of the time when he got into games, it was during garbage time, like in the 4th quarter at the very end, and we really didn't need to pass at that point. Now in this game, he came in right away at the second half, and he didn't throw the ball a lot, but this was his first kind of experience of actually having to command that offense for a whole half. This was his first real sort of experience. So naturally, he wasn't going to throw the ball too much, and it wasn't going to be like a star breakout performance. So I think he did what he needed to do. The offense got another touchdown drive under him, so I think he did fine.
I'd say this, a player that magnitude coming in, all that hype being around him, I think that's why people are anxious to see what the people have been talking about.
Yes, there were a lot of people that were talking about him more than Cam Miller when both of those were backups.
And you got to remember, he passed up on Nebraska to commit to NDSU. So when you see him, that's a success, and we can't see what he's basically made of, we're like, okay, what do we get this guy for? You know what I mean? So do you think it's going to go up for Cole Payton, or it's going to be mediocre?
I think it's going to go up. There's a lot of time yet for him to go up. He's still a redshirt freshman yet, so he's got a lot of time. He's got a couple of years to sit behind Cam Miller as a backup before he gets his couple of years in the stardom as the starting quarterback.
And then for the running backs, of course, we got Kobe Johnson, Hunter Lukey, and Dominic Ganella. Those 3 played pretty well, in my opinion. They both, got same amount of carries, 4 or 5. How do you think those guys performed?
Everybody performed great. Every single running back did, and that's a testament as well to the offensive line. They did a great job. The running game looks as strong as ever, and we wondered how many carries everybody was going to get. Was it going to be more of Kobe Johnson, or was everybody going to get it even? And it looked like everybody got it pretty even, and it's a good thing because everybody looked good. With running the ball.
They definitely did a good job spreading that ball around. Kobe Johnson looked good, and he put on some weight. That's a grown man right there. Hunter Lukey, of course, he looks good. Dominic Ganella got himself one. Got to hit out the home run. The two-sport athlete, the baseball, you got to have that. But like we mentioned last episode, Jalen Bussey, Tamarick Williams, we really didn't see much of them. What they got, 1 or 2 carries. Do you think their playing time is going to lessen down the stretch of the season?
I don't think it's going to lessen at all. And the thing was with this game, and it's kind of a problem that the offense has, if you want to say quote-unquote problem, but it's a good problem to have. We just have too many running backs. All these guys are quality running backs, and they want to try to give everybody, the same amount of carries, and that's a little hard sometimes. And it's not saying that Tamarick or Bussey are bad in any way. They're not at all. They're great running backs. It's just that, sometimes some of them are going to get more carries depending on the certain situation. Sometimes you need a little bit bigger running back. You need like a Lukey, or maybe you need Ganella for something. It just depends on the formation and how they use him.
And that's my worry because, okay, so power running back, Hunter, Tamarick. They're going to put Hunter because Hunter, what? Because his performance, it's documented. And then obviously there's not a speedster like Jalen Bussey. However, we still got Dom Ganella, we still got Kobe Johnson. That's why I think their playing time is going to be less and less.
I mean, it could be less and less, but you also got to remember injuries can happen throughout the season. We lost Ganella for most of the season last year, so these guys need to be ready. Their time could come. Somebody could get hurt, and they need to go in. So I think they're going to be prepared for that, and I think it'll be A-okay. And you also got guys who were backups like Owen Johnson and Pino, who also did a great job. Yeah,
Barriga got himself one. I think those guys are next up. They both got about 4 rushes apiece. Those guys are looking good. Pinu is looking big. He's definitely looked like he's been working hard in the off season. I'm glad to see what he has coming up, in the next game. But then tight end and receivers, you got Noah GINDORFF. He got himself one, the big man, and I think he actually is Gronk. He got the number 87. I think he's as big, has to be as big as Gronk. I think he did good. I don't think his injury from the playoffs hindered them in any way in this game, even though I believe the coach said he's still dealing. He's not 100%.
The only thing it may have hindered is the speed a little bit. It may have slowed him down a teensy bit, but speed doesn't matter when you can't get tackled, like as on that touchdown play.
Yep, and in the receivers, we didn't really see much of them. Of course, Zach Mathis, he got the first score, but that's only one reception, and Phoenix Pros only got one reception. We kind of talked about this, I remember last season, that in the beginning, they rarely passed the ball. Even the fans got into it, like, pass the ball. That's when we had Christian Watson just sitting there. But how do you think that's going to play when teams start to stop our run? How do you think it's going to play out later in the season?
And it's definitely something I was concerned about during our non-conference games last year, because we hardly passed the ball at the beginning of the season last year. And it came back to burn us in the SDSU game, I believe, because the running game got stopped in the first half, and it turned to the second half where we had the pass and we kind of just ran out of time. So I personally would love to see more passing this week. I'm not sure if they're going to do it or not. That's up to the coaches to decide. But especially considering the next game after this one is against Arizona, I feel like you're going to have to be more than one-dimensional to win in a game like that.
And then I always used to say this. Once they stop the run, what they're going to call on Christian Watson to run a bomb and score. We don't have that anymore. We have Zach Mathis, Phoenix Pros, DJ Hart, etc. And Zach Mathis is a big receiver like Christian, but he's not as fast as Christian. Phoenix Pros, kind of a different type of receiver. He's not Christian Watson. That's what I'm thinking. I'm starting to think. I think we're going to struggle when teams start picking up on our run and we don't have the backbone of Christian Watson.
I don't know if we'll struggle yet. It depends. We have to see what the passing game can bring to us yet. We haven't seen a lot of it. We didn't see a lot of it in the first game, obviously. So it's going to be a time will tell question of whether that passing game gets better or not. But I think it will get better eventually. We'll just have to see when exactly the offense wants to dive more into the pass game.
Okay, switching gears, what does the defense look like in this game?
The defense looked great. The first drive was a bit of a struggle, so was the second drive. However, after that, the defense allowed less than 200 yards, including 2 turnovers, the interception by Siegel, and a strip sack by Dawson Weber, which got returned by Will Mostert, which is the defense's first touchdown since 2018, and it was Jabril Cox back then, who is now with the Dallas Cowboys. So it was a great game for the defense overall, and they had some hiccups early, and they were able to pick it up so fast, and that was what I think the good thing was. The fact that they were able to be down early and say, okay, we are going to fix this. We are going to stop them. We will not allow them to score on us again, and that's basically what they did throughout the rest of this game.
I think the defense looked good. In the defensive line, you got Jay Cava. He's definitely got a lot of snaps in that game, and he showed out. He definitely proved why he started, or not start, but got as much reps as he did. We saw LaShaka Rokes. We saw Tony Pierce, Spencer Wadey back from his injury. Linebackers was a bunch of guys, and you like the linebackers. So give us a little preview of what we saw that day.
We saw a lot out of Nick Kubitz. We saw a lot out of Julian, and we saw it was the mixture. It was kind of like what the coaches said. There were definitely a few different linebackers that we had. We didn't have Cole Wisniewski. He was out with injuries, so it was definitely interesting to see all those guys making plays, and the linebacker core did great. They were what was keeping the run game down, so they had to turn to the air, and I personally think it was a great day for the linebackers.
Yeah, let's get into some player stats. So in the air, Cam Miller completed 6 passes for 105 yards for 2 touchdowns. Hunter Lukey rushed for 53 yards and a TD. Kobe Johnson also had 53 yards. Noah GINDORFF had 3 receptions for 44 yards and a TD. Zach Mathis had only 1 reception, but for 31 yards and a TD. Dash, give me some defensive stats.
Courtney Eubanks led the defense in tackles with 6, and Nick Kubitz and Sam Jung had 5 tackles each. The defense also had 8 tackles in the backfield, so a great job by the defense to get into the backfield. And like I said, this was out Cole Wisniewski as well as Javier Darrett in the middle of that defensive line.
Yeah, so their defense could get even scarier. They're now 1-0, They're back at it tomorrow against North Carolina A&T for the Trees Bowl. Game starts at 2:30 at the Fargo Dome. How do you think this is going to play out? Because like I said last episode, they don't play many HBCUs. So I don't know what to expect for them. But however, I do think it's going to be a blowout.
Yep. I kind of feel like this game is sort of like last year's game against East Tennessee State University, where it was like, it's a team we don't play very often. They have some things on the offense that could be a little worrisome. But at the same time, I feel like NDSU is just stronger overall as a team. Yep. They'll be able to get the victory. I don't know if it'll be quite as big as Drake's, but I want to say it'll be like a 42-14 victory.
Okay, so you're going to give them points? Okay, I respect it. However, I think the defense now knows that they can't take a team for granted like Drake. Well, not for granted, because they said they're throwing some things out that they didn't see in film. So I'm going to say I'm thinking a shutout. I'm thinking 56-0. I don't think this is a team that can score on this defense, especially we don't know who's coming back. You just named Javier, Derek, Colt, Wisniewski, Dogs. I'm thinking a blowout, man.
All right.
Going for a blowout.
All right. You want to get that accurate score right, don't you?
I do. This has got to be it.
So you're putting all that trust into the defense.
This has got to be it. This is the one I think I have. If I don't get this, I'm done. I'm done. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into soccer, volleyball, and men's and women's golf. Stay tuned.
One kid, one mentor, plus one moment can unlock limitless potential. One heart-to-heart, one inside joke. 30,000 youth are waiting. Be there for one of them. It's time. Become a big today.
The NDSU bookstore has everything you need to show off your Bison pride. The bookstore can have you sporting green and gold wherever you go. It offers many different brands, sizes, styles, and selection so that you find exactly what you're looking for. Shop the NDSU bookstore and show your spirit today.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
the people. They make it such a warm place. The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
once I got on campus, it felt like home.
Welcome back. We're going to start this segment off with soccer. Now, they are coming off a tough weekend against Wyoming and Northern Colorado. Now, last season, this sort of thing happened. They had a 2-game losing streak, and then that led to a 4-game losing streak. Do you think this is going to turn into the same episode?
It's unfortunate because the beginning of the season looked so promising. They had 4 straight games without a loss, and it felt like maybe this team was going to round a corner, and unfortunately 4 straight games where it's the same problems as last year. No shots on goal whatsoever, so the offense is kind of sputtered, and it just leaves the defense out to dry because, you know, naturally when the ball is on your side of the field for pretty much all of the game, naturally you're going to give up goals.
And this is what I said. I don't think it's much of the players. They've been shifting players around, putting mids on D. Do you think this is a coaching staff issue?
It could be. I mean, these players, they know what they're doing. They're very experienced. They were most of these players
Most of the
were
players
on
are
the
vets.
field. Yeah, on the field last year, so it might be.
You got. Let's just get into it. Starting off with Wyoming, they lost 3-1. Olivia LOVICK was the one to put that score on the board. What are some of the other stats?
NDSU had 11 shots on the goal, while Wyoming doubled that and had 22. NDSU's goalies were able to get 7 saves, and Wyoming only had 4 in the game.
And then against Northern Colorado, they lost 5-0.
That one was rough.
And 3 of those goals were in the first half. I mean, the Bison failed to get 1 goal. What were some of the other stats? I can.
NDSU had only 3 shots on goal, only 1 in the first half, 2 came in the second half. Northern Colorado, meanwhile, had 17 shots on goal. NDSU was able to get 7 saves. Northern Colorado only had 1. However, that stat is a little skewed when you only have 3 shots on goal. Only having 1 save is kind of normal.
Yep, so they're now 2-2-2. Their next set of games are today and Sunday. They'll play Green Bay today at 5 at home at the Dakota Field, and then on Sunday they have Drake at home at 1 p.m. So let's see if the Bison could turn it around. I think it just comes up with the coaching staff. Let's see if they can bounce back this weekend, but I honestly think it's the coach. I don't think it's the players. I mean, they're vets, they're experienced, they're good players. I think it comes down to the coaching staff with me.
And it's kind of a part of me is like last year too, where I was saying it's a little hard to judge the season until you get the conference play, because non-conference can be back and forth because you're playing random teams that you don't normally play every year. So it's and a variety of difficulty as well. You got some teams that are very good in non-conference and some teams that just aren't. So it's hard to say how good the team is until you get the conference play. But yes, it is very much a shame that after a decent start to the year, it kind of just falls off the rails again.
Let's see what happened. But moving on to volleyball, they didn't have the best record at their tournament that they probably wish they would have had. Sarah Camillo Memorial Classic, they went 1-2. We already covered University of Louisiana last week, so we're going to get into UTSA, and they took the victory 3-0. Syra Tanton led the Bison with 14 kills and 1 ace. Where were some of the other stats?
Allie Hinsey had 9 kills in the tournament. Michelle Glover had 6 in the tournament.
And then against UTRGV, they lost 3-0. Michelle Glover led the Bison with 12 kills and 3 blocks. Where were some of the other stats?
Syra Tanton had 7 kills, and Allie Hinsey had 6 kills.
And then earlier today, they played Chicago State at home for the NDSU tournament, and they won 3-2. So they're doing pretty good today, but during that weekend, it was pretty tough.
The interesting thing about the season so far, it's been a very back and forth season. They'll have one tournament where they win 3-0, and then the next one they lose 3-0. So it's very confusing to pinpoint how good this team is doing because it seems like inconsistency is the main problem right now.
And this is another team that has a lot of vets. Allie Hinsey, Syra Tanton, Michelle Glover. These are another teams that have still good players returning. I don't know what's up with those two teams in particular, but it's still early in the season.
It could be a thing again with non-conference. The variety of opponents that you play.
Yep.
You never know what you're going to get with every tournament.
Yep. So they are now 5-2. Their next game is against Central Michigan on Saturday. Next 7 p.m. today, and then on Saturday they'll face Montana State at 10 p.m. So make sure you guys keep up with those updates on GoBison.com.
Montana State's going to be a bit of a difficult one. They're 4-1 heading into this. We'll see if NDSU can pull the upset tomorrow.
Yep, and then for men's golf, they're coming off on Sunday and Monday. They competed at the Island Resort Intercollegiate and placed 5th out of 13 teams. Those are pretty good. Nate Adams led the way for the Bison, tied for 7th overall at -4 for the event. Ian Simonitz followed behind him, finishing tied for 16th place at +1. And then then they competed at the Fall Invitational on Tuesday and Wednesday. They hosted the NDSU Fall Invitational. They did pretty good. They placed 1st out of 3 teams. The Bison finished the event at -19, so they did pretty good.
Yeah, it was a pretty good day overall for the men. Finishing 1st out of 3rd. It's not the biggest tournament that you can ask for, but overall a pretty good day.
And this win tied NDSU for the largest victory in program history. I'll tell you, this team is special. We got Nate Diesel, Nate Adams, and we got Jack Johnson and Brock Winter. We got those 4 guys putting it down.
It's another thing, like with the other sports, a lot of returning players in both men's and women's golf, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, especially for men's golf too. A lot of returning players and a lot of experience, and that's why, you get those big victories like that early in the season.
Yep, they're back at it at Monday. They're back at it on Monday for the Wildcat Invitational in Manhattan, Kansas. Last season, they competed at this Invitational in week 2 and held their own. They placed 5th out of 13 teams. I think they made a statement last season. I think they could potentially take over this Invitational this year around.
And meanwhile, for the women, the Bison women's golf team won at the NDSU Fall Invitational at the Oxbow Country Club on Wednesday afternoon. The Bison led the tournament with 126 pars and 22 birdies. Elise Hoven and Catherine Monti finished tied for 1st place at 5 over par. Leah Scar moved up 7 spots on the leaderboard to tie for 4th place overall. And the Bison puts together rounds of 304 and 297 for a 2-round total of 601. St. Thomas finished 2nd and UND finished 3rd. The NDSU women, it was a big win. They beat St. Thomas by 13 strokes in that tournament. So kind of like the men. Their next tournament, they will be back in action at the Hobble Creek Invitational in Springville, Utah on Monday.
Yep, I'm happy for them. Last season they struggled a little bit down the stretch. I think they found a little bit of success, and then when they got to the Summer League Championship, that kind of hindered them, and they didn't do so well.
Yeah, but it's a brand new season. The slate is wiped clean, and kind of like the men's team, they have returning players who have done very well last year. Hoven, Monty, and Scar all performed great last year.
Yep, and then we're going to switch gears. We got to get into the NFL.
We had our kickoff game last night between the Los Angeles Rams and the Buffalo Bills, returning back to where we finished off last year in Los Angeles at the site of Super Bowl 56. However, this time around for the Rams did not go as well as it did in the Super Bowl back in February.
Definitely not. To kick the season off like this with these 2 teams, dominant teams at that, well, Rams were dominant last night, but for these 2 teams to start the season at this magnitude, and obviously Bills was a favorite in this matchup. The Bills are projected to go to the Super Bowl. Everybody thinks they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but I just want to mention actually 2 players. Josh Allen did his thing. He's that guy. There's no more debating. He's that guy. Number 2, Von Miller is that guy. And it's kind of sad. What are the chances you play your team first game of the season
that you just won the Super Bowl with back in
Super Bowl
February?
and now you have to sack your own quarterback. But I like that matchup. It was a good game.
Yeah, it was a great game. And you mentioned Josh Allen. This definitely solidifies his early season candidacy for being the MVP at the end of the year. And a lot of people early in his career, he was kind of left off to the side. A lot of people thought he was going to be a bust early in his career because he couldn't take them to the playoffs. But that was just because he didn't have the team around him. Once Sean McDermott turned the course for that team, they have gotten a lot better, and he looks like a completely different player. And as for Von Miller, I feel kind of bad because back in the spring when they signed him to that massive contract, I felt like they gave him way too much money and way too many years on that contract. I'm definitely eating my words now.
That's what you do. You didn't want Deebo Samuel to get his contract. That was
different than Miller.
I wouldn't say you're a hater, but I would say you don't see the potential in people.
It's not because I didn't see potential in Miller. I just thought he was kind of over the hill, so to speak. I thought giving him that much money for
Super Bowl winner.
I didn't know if he had that much left in the tank, but apparently he definitely has a lot left in the tank from what he showed last night.
Hey, let's talk about the Rams offense. You know, Matthew Stafford, they say his elbow is still messing with him. I think you can't really tell. We talked about this earlier. You can't really tell with a game with a dominant defense like that. Cooper Kupp, he still look good, but he needs another weapon. And I was telling you that.
Odell Beckham is gone.
Odell is gone. I was telling you guys that. Cooper Kupp, yes, he's a good receiver. They still need help.
A confusing part of the Rams offense for me was actually their running game. A lot of Darrell Henderson last night. No Cam Akers whatsoever. And that was kind of interesting. I thought it was going to be a split between the two of them, and Cam Akers actually kind of ran more in the playoffs last year. But I guess because he fumbled so much in Tampa Bay, they maybe don't trust him to run.
And let me just talk about the Rams defense real quick. Jalen Ramsey, just to be exact.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Stephon Diggs gave him that business. and I wanted to say this because I take up for the receivers. You know that. I'm an ex-receiver. I take up for the receivers. Jalen Ramsey, the best cornerback in the league. Okay, cool. This is why we talk about, he only plays zone or he doesn't follow. And Stephon Diggs gave him that work. He was doing bad. I'm not going to lie. He was doing bad.
And there was an old article a few years ago talking about when Josh Allen was a rookie. He said Josh Allen was garbage. He said he was bad. Well, that came back to bite him, didn't it?
Bite him.
I mean, he got burned by Stephon Diggs a lot. Also, Gabriel Davis burned him on a few plays.
Yep.
So, yeah, the Rams defense just looked completely lost last night. And the thing was, they were also missing kind of like a piece. Kind of like on the offense, they were missing Odell Beckham. Mm-hmm. On the defense, they really missed Von Miller. Mm-hmm. Aaron Donald can't do it by himself on that D-line. And unfortunately, now that they lost Miller, that defensive line was not as strong as it was last year.
And I think, for the most part, they did a good job containing Aaron Donald. It's a dominant force already. It's really hard to contain him. But those double teams did really help in certain situations.
The Bills have put a lot of work into the offensive line these last few years. It was a big problem for them a couple of years ago, but now they've filled up with guys, including Spencer Brown, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. So get that Missouri Valley blood in there, and they have done a great job. And they did great last night. One thing that was kind of confusing, though, about the game last night, the turnovers. Oh, yeah. There were so many of them for both teams.
And so early, too.
Mm-hmm. 3 in a row, pretty much back-to-back early in the game.
Yeah, I believe the first one was the Bills with the interception, wasn't it?
Yes. A reception that went off the hands of the receiver McKenzie and got picked off by the Rams, which that was the only mistake, quote-unquote, that Josh Allen made that night. It really wasn't even his fault.
I want to say this. He did a good game. He had a good game. Those 2 interceptions wasn't on him. So that's why nobody's really talking about that.
The Bills had that interception and then a fumble by James Cook, their high draft pick, the younger brother of current NFL star Dalvin Cook. That was his only run of the night. He had that one run, he fumbled it, and he was on the bench for the rest of the night. Moss, the other running back, he had a fumble late in the game, which really didn't matter. Now, meanwhile, for the Rams, 3 interceptions and a fumble for the Rams. It was just a rough night for the Rams offense. And for Stafford, it was hard to say whether it was Stafford's fault or not. Yeah, he had some bad throws, but he also got sacked 7 times.
Yeah.
So once you get sacked that many times, you're really just throwing up Hail Marys at that point, trying to save yourself from getting hurt.
Definitely. And I want to say, for Josh Allen, he was really throwing precise balls. I mean, he was throwing it in tight windows. That's what I think he's a really talented quarterback. Really precise. They're even comparing him to Tom Brady during the game. I know you just don't like Tom Brady.
They just can't have one primetime game without mentioning Tom Brady, even if he's not playing.
You just don't like Tom Brady, but that's fine. But they were comparing him to Tom Brady because his throws were precise. I'm talking about in tight windows. You're not supposed to throw the ball in. And he was, boom, got it. I think those boys did good.
Yeah, I think the Bills did great, and it definitely amplifies the reasoning for having them as a Super Bowl favorite. And it makes me scared as a Packers fan because I know we got to play them down the road. So, It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm also not counting the Rams out because it's early in the season. That was probably their toughest team.
Yep. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
And we'll catch you next week. Go Bison.